The authority takes note of the Lent period and the approach of the holy month of Ramadan, and also takes note of the appeal made to the leaders of the region by His Excellency General Yakubu Gowon, former head of state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and founding father of ECOWAS. The pleas made by the Malehous Foundation in Benin and several other personalities and humanitarian organizations. With regard to the withdrawal of the three countries, the authority notes that the withdrawal will have political, socio-economic, financial, and institutional implications for the three countries as well as for ECOWAS as a region. Political and security implications. The authority recalled that within the framework of regional cooperation against terrorism, violent extremism, and organized crime, the three countries benefited from about $100 million mobilized by UMOA within the context of ECOWAS Plan of Action Against Terrorism. Moreover, some funds allocation, about $7.5 million is being made towards supporting the three countries in acquiring equipment to help their fight against terrorism. The withdrawal will affect security cooperation in terms of sharing intelligence and participation in regional counterterrorism initiatives, such as the Accra Initiative and the Multinational Joint Task Force. Automatically affect the immigration status of the citizens, as they may be required to obtain visas to travel around the region. Citizens may no longer be able to reside or set up businesses under ECOWAS arrangements and may be subject to diverse national laws. The three countries will cease to use ECOWAS passports, ECOWAS biometric national identity cards, and the region-wide ECOWAS brown card vehicle insurance. The authority recognizes that the three member states represent 17.4% of the region's 425 million population. Even though they represent 10% of the region's GDP, their departure will constitute a reduction of the market size of ECOWAS. The authority recognizes that intra-community trade may also be disrupted, especially trade in unprocessed goods such as livestock, fish, plant, agriculture produce, mineral products. It will also affect traditional handicraft products as well as industrial products of community origin. The authority further notes that the three countries are beneficiaries of several regional projects and programs, notably the Regional Food Security Reserve. The three countries host stocks from the regional reserve for a quantity of nearly 17,000 tons, or 52% of the regional food reserve. The Regional Support Program for Pastoralism in the Sahel, which is being funded by the World Bank to the tune of $215 million, is also a project that benefits the three countries. The three countries also benefit from the Sahel Regional Irrigation Support Program, which is being funded by the World Bank to the tune of $103 million. The Regional Food Systems Resilience Support Program, in the amount of $230 million funded by the World Bank, is also benefiting the three countries. West African Single Identity and Regional Integration and Inclusion Project is another program that the three countries benefit from. The ECOWAS Regional Electricity Market West African Power Pool Project is another project that benefits the three countries. The project links all the member states to a regional electricity grid for improved access to electricity. The withdrawal of the three member states could result in the halt or the suspension of all ECOWAS projects and programs worth more than $500 million US. The authority notes that the two regional financial institutions, EBID and BORD, have considerable exposure in the three countries. EBID currently has 27 ongoing public sector projects in the three countries, 9 in Burkina Faso, 8 in Mali, and 10 in Niger, and a total of 20 private sector projects, 5 in Burkina Faso, 13 in Mali, and 2 in Niger. These projects are collectively valued at approximately $321.6 million US. The EBID's portfolio in the three countries represent approximately 22.5% of the bank's total portfolio in the member states. The three countries contribute a total of $33 million to the capital of the bank. Reviewing the implications at the institutional level, the authority notes that the withdrawal will not only require the closure of 4 regional entities in Burkina Faso, 2 regional bodies in Mali, and 1 regional office in Niger, it will also affect the job security of some 130 ECOWAS staff who are citizens of the three countries. Currently, 77 staff members are from Burkina Faso, 23 are from Mali, and 32 are from Niger. The authority has resolved as follows. Release of President Bazoum. The authority calls for the immediate release of His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum, former President of the Republic of Niger. The authority also calls on the transition authorities in Niger to provide an acceptable transition timetable to constitutional order. On sanctions, the authority has resolved as follows. The authority has resolved to lift with immediate effect the following measures imposed on the Republic of Niger. A, closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger to be lifted. No-fly zone of all commercial flights to and from Niger is to be lifted. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger is to be lifted. Freezing of all service transactions, including utility services, is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of the Republic of Niger in ECOWAS central banks is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of Niger state and the state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks is to be lifted. Suspension of Niger from all financial assistance and transactions with all financial institutions, particularly EBID and BORD, is to be lifted. Travel ban on the government officials and their family members is also to be lifted. This decision is based on humanitarian considerations, especially as we are in the month of Lent and as we prepare for the holy month of Ramadan. The authority has also resolved to lift the sanctions regarding the recruitment of Malian citizens in statutory and professional positions within ECOWAS. The authority has also resolved to lift financial and economic sanctions on the Republic of Guinea. The authority has also instructed the President of the Commission to invite Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and Guinea to attend technical and consultative meetings of ECOWAS, as well as all security-related meetings. The authority calls on ECOWAS institutions, member states, YMO, and other regional institutions to implement this decision. On the withdrawal of the three countries, the authority takes note of the notifications by the three member states within the context of Article 91 of the 1993 ECOWAS revised treaty, and further urges the countries to reconsider the decision in view of the benefits that the ECOWAS member states and their citizens enjoy in the community. The authority expresses its concern over the socio-economic, political, security, and humanitarian impacts of the decision, particularly on the citizens of the three countries and on the regional integration process. The authority further urges the three member states to resort dialogue, negotiations, and mediation to address their concerns. The authority urges the three member states to adhere to the provisions of the 1993 revised treaty relating to withdrawal, particularly Article 91. The authority encourages ECOWAS to sustain its rapprochement and ouvertures towards the three member states and continue to remain seized of the situation. The authority urges ECOWAS to engage the African Union, UMOA, UN, and other international organizations in its dialogue with the three countries. The authority encourages a broader outreach which should include traditional religious leaders, eminent personalities, civil society, and women leaders for the unity and security of the region. The authority reiterates the urgent need for ECOWAS to expedite the operationalization of the standby force in its kinetic mode to fight against terrorism in the region, including the elements of the multinational joint task force and the Accra Initiative. In this regard, the authority instructs the Commission as soon as possible to convene the meeting of Ministers of Finance and Defense to propose modalities for financing and equipping counter-terrorism force. The authority further instructs the Commission to develop an effective communication strategy in engaging member states and the community citizens in view of the ongoing disinformation and misinformation that put ECOWAS in a bad light. The authority expresses its gratitude to His Excellency General Yakubu Gowon for his interest in the welfare of the community and his valuable suggestions. The authority takes note of the end of President Macky Sall's term of office on April 2, 2024, and commends him for the tremendous development he has realized as President of Senegal, and for his invaluable leadership in Africa and the world. The authority calls on Senegalese stakeholders to give priority to dialogue with a view to preserving the democratic gains of Senegal through a free, inclusive, and transparent elections. The leaders underscore their commitment to African sovereignty, independence, and unity. In this regard, the authority appeals to all partners to respect African countries' sovereignty and independence and avoid interferences that risk destabilizing member states and adversely affect regional unity. And finally, the authority expresses gratitude to His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chair of the ECOWAS Authority, for convening the extraordinary summit and for the manner in which he has been conducting the affair of the community as Chair of Authority. Done at Abuja this 24th day of February 2024. The authority. This is the communique of the extraordinary session. It will be made available in the languages of ECOWAS as soon as possible. I thank you for your presence.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, as usual, let's keep the questions short. And if another journalist has already asked the questions you intend to ask, please, you step down. I'll start with TVC.
Good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Moya Thomas. I report for TVC News. Sir, I would want to know why ECOWAS authority did not wait for these three countries to shift ground a little bit, so ECOWAS does not see it to be same as not strong, or could condone unconstitutional change of power by lifting the sanctions without them taking any deliberate step to meet the demands of ECOWAS. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I have made it, I have referred to the appeals that have been made to the leaders by leaders such as former head of state, General Gowon, religious leaders, traditional leaders, with regard to the sanctions on Niger. It is on purely humanitarian grounds that the leaders have deemed it important and necessary to lift the sanctions, especially as we are in the Lent period and we are approaching the holy month of Ramadan. The people and the interest of the people is what has informed the decision of the leaders to lift the sanctions, because as you know, although it is not the intention of the leaders, sanctions do affect citizens in one way or another, and the leaders deem it important to really take measures that will alleviate any possible suffering for the ordinary person. So it is on humanitarian grounds that the leaders have taken this decision. As I said, ECOWAS remains committed to its zero tolerance for unconstitutional change of government. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. I am Princess Ekwi Ajide of the Anambra Broadcasting Service. Sir, from all indications, withdrawal of the 3 countries from ECOWAS will spell doom for the bloc. And just like you said, it's based on humanitarian grounds. But I'm worried because this may be green light for countries who are so pressed to say we can also use unconstitutional measures to get what we want.
Now, let me make it very clear. What I have listed is not exhaustive. Political sanctions have not been lifted. Border closures have been lifted, and commercial sanctions have been lifted. But there are targeted sanctions as well as political sanctions that remain in force. Thank you.
Hiya. I wasn't clear. Is it just Niger that the sanctions have been lifted on? And can I also ask a question about Senegal? Have you effectively welcomed Macky Sall back into the fold, and is that all in the past now, all the problems in Senegal?
I think our sanctions regime should be assessed correctly. The list I have given relates mainly to Niger because all the other countries still have political sanctions on them. So the border closures, the commercial sanctions and all that are on Niger, and that is what the leaders have decided to lift. But individual sanctions as well as political sanctions remain in place in Niger. Now, for other countries, political sanctions remain. That is the limited ability to attend ECOWAS summits as well as ministerial sessions. Now, regarding Senegal, the leaders have taken note of President Macky Sall's, the end of President Macky Sall's term of office on the 2nd of April, and appeals to all stakeholders in Senegal to give priority to dialogue so that they can have free, fair, and inclusive elections.
Good day. My name is Amadine Uyi with New Central Television. On the issue of Mali, Guinea, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, I know that recently the 3 states formed a parallel and competing body, one that competes with ECOWAS. Though I understand that is not ECOWAS membership is not mandatory, I'm curious to know how the Commission wishes to be able to handle that issue, especially as it goes against the core objectives and key responsibilities of ECOWAS, including its interests. Thank you.
ECOWAS is a reality. We all travel freely within the sub-region, and we trade freely among ourselves. So that reality is there. ECOWAS therefore does not see another grouping as a threat. We, in addition to the alliance, you have many other smaller groupings within ECOWAS. You have UEMOA, you have Mano River Union, you have the other smaller functional organizations dealing with specific matters. Entente Cordiale and all that. You do have, there is another organization, I've just forgotten the name, I beg your pardon. The Entente, And these are institutions that serve specific purposes within ECOWAS. So they are not in competition with ECOWAS. We don't see any organization as in competition with ECOWAS. We think we can complement each other. We just need to coordinate properly.
Good afternoon, sir. Your Excellency, my name is Vincent Sokushi from Quality Television. Sir, now that the sanction is lifted, I want to know what efforts is the ECOWAS head of state going to do or put in place to ensure that to halt this unconstitutional change of power, knowing fully well that violators are not punished. Thank you.
As I have said, let me repeat again. There is an array of sanctions. Some have been lifted, others have not been lifted. Not all sanctions have been lifted. You have political sanctions that are in place. You have individual sanctions that are in place. We felt there are certain sanctions that affect the common person a bit more, and the leaders on humanitarian grounds have deemed it important and necessary to remove those sanctions.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Stephen Angulu. I write for the Punch newspapers. My question is about the alliances that these nations have built within the time they've been away and been under sanctions. Since coming under military rule, we understand that Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea have strengthened their alliances with Russia and on various economic fronts. Does this bother the ECOWAS in any way? And what becomes of that, given your current decision? Thank you.
As I have said, ECOWAS does not see any outfit as competitors or competing against ECOWAS. What we frown up against is anything from outside that will destabilize the region and affect the unity of the region. ECOWAS does not accept that, but ECOWAS welcomes any partnership that promotes our development and our unity.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. My name is Eniola Akinkwotu. I work with the Africa Report, Jeune Afrique. The three countries that announced that they're pulling out of ECOWAS, that's Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They spoke about ECOWAS, becoming a stooge of the West. I was going to ask this question: will ECOWAS be considering, cutting the umbilical cord between the CFA zone and Banque de France to prove to these people that you are not stooges of the West? That is one. Secondly is we've seen time and time again ECOWAS being very proactive whenever there's a coup. But when civilian heads of state, embark on tenure extension, allegation, or they attempt it, we see ECOWAS not being as stern. I'm going to ask, will ECOWAS or the civilian regimes in West Africa, will they acknowledge this and these democratic shortcomings and begin to address them? What's ECOWAS plan to address this sort of things in the long run? Thank you.
As you know, we are working towards an ECOWAS single currency, but we are not yet there. So for now, there is no single ECOWAS currency we can talk about, let alone a link of that currency to another central bank. It is an objective to have our own single currency, but we have yet to get there. Regarding unconstitutional behavior, I think I have made it very clear, ECOWAS stands against unconstitutional behavior, whether perpetrated by military or non-military individuals. That is the position of ECOWAS.
Good evening, Your Excellency. All protocols duly observed. My name is Jonas Ezeke from Daily Champion. I want to ask, sir, is the authority of ECOWAS head of states and government going to have another summit where they will deliberate on human rights issues as it affects citizens of member nations? Or if they are not going to have such summit, why is the authority of the head of states and government not looking at issues of human rights as it affects member countries' citizens? Thank you, sir.
I think human rights is extremely important to ECOWAS and to ECOWAS member states and to ECOWAS leaders. And the subject is discussed regularly, perhaps maybe not as prominently as you may have wished. But I can assure you that even this discussion we are having on constitutional change of government covers elements of human rights of citizens. And this is why ECOWAS insists on constitutionalism, ECOWAS insists on rule of law, because these sit at the heart of human rights defense and human rights protection.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We've come to the end of the press conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.